Hey Roadrunner fans, we hope you all are staying safe and healthy during these times. Our sports information department, made up of Nate Lake, Rob White, and Eric Lansing, have done a fantastic job during this quarantine time to bring you lots of great history and memories of our program and all Roadrunner spring programs over the past month or so. If you're like me, you are itching for sports of any kind, so hopefully this helps scratch that itch. Over the weekend, we gave you a little nibble of Roadrunner baseball history by putting out a social media poll to determine the best team in school history. The Hall of Fame team of 1987 ended up on top after a social media surge by the ever-popular 2015 team. Today we are unveiling a more detailed and comprehensive game to our fans, alumni, and followers. Over the next week and a half, we are bringing you top players in Roadrunner history virtually through the game of APBA. No, not MLB The Show. Over the past month, I have been scouring the record books and history of Roadrunner baseball probably more than I care to admit. Along with Rob and Nate, we have gathered a list of the 50 best players in program history. Roadrunner baseball has been around since 1968 when sports icon Irv Brown started the program. Through 53 years of history, we have compiled a list of 50 players split into two separate teams for a best-of-7 game series. First, so you all understand the great game of APBA and how this will work, Rob White took all the players who were selected to the teams and prorated them into a 162-game season to align them with a full Major League season. We then turned to the play index on baseballreference.com to plug in 4 key statistics which can be found in the article to find which Roadrunner players comp to players at the Major League level. Julian Garcia, perhaps the most talented arm in school history, equates to the 1976 season of Nolan Ryan. RMAC Player of the Year and All-American Matt Malkin equates to Babe Ruth from the 1921 season, well, somewhat. Malkin's prorated home run total for a 162-game season would be 79 bombs. Torrin Berge, perhaps the greatest player in school history, with a career batting average of .461, equates to Rogers Hornsby of 1924. Anyways, you get the picture. The entire list of comps and reports can be found in the article and PDF written up by Rob, Nate, and myself. The game of APBA, which will be played to simulate this 7-game series, is in our, or Rob's, opinion the best way to simulate a series of this magnitude. We set the lineups for each team, call for certain plays, and make substitutions and roll a dice to play out the game. The games will be played by Rob and Nate, as I have had the great task of splitting up and choosing the teams. Let's talk about how we selected the top 50 players and split them up into 2 teams. What needs to be remembered in this is it was a certain selection process to evenly split the 2 teams up. In order to play the game of APBA, for example, you need a certain amount of bullpen pitchers, a 4-man starting rotation, and a certain amount of backup players for each position. Like any great sports debate, I'm sure there are snubs and some great players that we left out. However, I'm fairly confident we have gathered an elite list of players. Some hurdles we have jumped through in this process is navigating one-and-done type players who only spent 1 season with the program, such as Matt Malkin, Jacob Nelson, or junior college transfers, such as Donnie Ortiz, Matt McConnell, who only spent 2 years in the program, or guys who weren't able to finish their 4-year career because MLB came knocking, such as Julian Garcia and Torrin Berge. Then there are the obvious selections of 4-year guys, or 7-year guys, such as Javi Vega, who are shoo-ins based on their career ranks in our record books. All of these players and criteria were taken into consideration in selecting the 50 best players. All current MSU Denver Athletic Hall of Famers are automatic members of the team, rightfully so. Lots of different variables and positional needs brought us to our current 2 teams. It is no secret that Roadrunners have had some pretty successful and phenomenal offensive feats in the history of the program, while the pitching is a bit more thin. And it took a little more digging by our panel of experts to find a full pitching staff. Without further ado, let's introduce the teams and give you a quick scouting report on both squads. First off, Team Hellman, coached by former head baseball coach and athletic director Bill Hellman. Hellman is tied for the longest tenure in program history with 14 seasons coached and has the only regular season championship, which came with that top team in school history, 1987. Team Hellman is a solid all-around team that is built on pitching and defense. Reese Gorman and Torrin Berge set the table at the top of the order, while Brian Edwards and Daryl Baca provide much-needed power in the middle of the order. This team is built around small ball and scrappy play, as evidenced by the way Gary Romero, Eric Larson, and Jake Palmer play. They feature a very solid starting rotation with horses like Julian Garcia, Ted Jamison, Scott Novak, and Chris Locke. Bullpen has some holes and is a bit thin, but if they can get the ball to Cale O'Donnell in the back half, they usually end up on top, as Cale is tied for the career record in saves in school history. This team features an entire starting infield that is in the MSU Denver Athletics Hall of Fame in Berge, Romero, Larson, and Doug Montgomery at third base. Palmer, Edwards, and David Fox round out the ever-loaded outfield, while Daryl Baca is the team's starting DH. Other pitchers on the team include Eric Smith, Ty Jacobs, Bill Ryan, Ryan Bright, and Tim Collins. Coming off the bench for Team Hellman is Dana Rikers, Hunter Donaldson, Craig Bonato, Clint Cleland, Jeff Ellis, and Tracy Archuleta. Team Perico, coached by former head baseball coach Vince Perico, is tied with Hellman for the longest tenured coach in school history at 14 seasons and has the only postseason championship in school history, as his 2002 team won the RMAC tournament as the 4 seed. Team Perico is a team clearly built on the long ball. The entire lineup has the ability to leave the yard at any time and gives opposing pitchers and pitching coaches nightmares. They do not feature a ton of team speed, but have some burners coming off the bench for late-game heroic situations. Starting rotation features Bulldogs and competitors in Anthony Cortez, Javi Vega, Mike Nussbaum, and Josh Eckert. Bullpen has some solid depth, and the order of Kevin Hand to Logan Sewell to Eric Cummings is a top-of-the-line 7, 8, 9 inning rotation. Cummings is tied with O'Donnell for the school record in saves. Other bullpen arms for Team Perico include Ken Leoneso, Braden Ham, and TJ McAvoy. Now back to that batting order. Leading off is the smooth-hitting assassin with that $1 million smile, Donnie Ortiz Sr. Batting second, left fielder Greg Eisenhart. 3-hole, the designated hitter, Rusty Beefus. 4-hole, catcher, Matt Malkin. 5-hole, first baseman, Jordan Stauffer. 6-hole, center fielder, Logan Sewell. 7-hole, right fielder, Pat Maxwell. 8-hole, third baseman, Jacob Nelson. And 9-hole, the slick fielding, Keith Schultz. Oof. Good luck against that lineup. That features the top 3 career home run hitters in school history and the single-season record holder, Matt Malkin. Coming off the bench for Team Perico is Brendan Peach, Angelo Capolungo, Evan Claus, Matt McConnell, Donnie Ortiz Jr., and Draven Adame. Now that we have everything laid out for you and you know the top 50 players in each team, we hope you enjoy our matchup between the 2 best teams in school history. Thank you for following and for supporting Roadrunner Athletics. Stay safe, stay healthy, and get rowdy.